Good morning, friends. It's Heather at Bush Poppy Farm. Why am I dressed like this? Well, the bees are still mad. And there's a couple of them who like to dive bomb us just walking down the driveway. So, for the moment, while I'm going out to do these couple of early chores, I'm wearing a bee veil so I don't get stung again. So yesterday was successful in making the 2 splits. I did not film it. It felt chaotic. It was okay. It went well. But ironically, the weather wasn't nearly as nice yesterday as it is today. So yesterday the high ended up being only around 62, which today it's 74. It's gorgeous. It's gonna go down back into the low 50s, upper 40s for highs starting tomorrow. And it was also cloudy yesterday, cloudy and breezy. Terrible conditions for splitting a hive, but I didn't realize that today would be so much better. I ended up splitting the hives yesterday, but it's fine, it went well. I hope that they take and that I didn't kill the queen and any of the times I went through either hive. Just a little anxious about that, but we will know as time goes on. So the next steps are, I can't touch those hives for the next 7 to 10 days. In 7 days, I go into the 2 hives that I split, the nucleuses, and check to see if there are new queens or new eggs, which would mean they are either developing a queen or they have a queen. Then we don't touch them at all until day 28 from the day of the split. At that point, that period of time between day 7 and 10 and day 28, the queen will, if they are hatching a new queen, will be flying. She'll be out mating. And so it's crucial that you don't mess with the hive at all in that time frame or move it specifically, because if you mess with it, you might accidentally kill her, because a virgin queen is very small. She looks very similar to the other bees, so she's hard to find. And if you move that hive, she could be out on a flight and never be able to find her way home. So really important to not touch them in that time period. So what we're gonna do is, I think we're not gonna move these 2 nukes to their new location until after that 28-day period. Then we can be sure that there's a good queen, she's going well, and they can move to their new location, do their orientation flights, and everything will be good. This bad weather period in between is gonna make it rough on those nukes because it's gonna be cold. They're gonna have to work harder to keep the brood warm, and they won't be able to do as many foraging flights because it'll be bad weather. So, however, the best source of nectar for them right now is the manzanita bush, which is right behind the hives, and they know where those are. So I'm hoping that, you know, in little breaks in the rain, they can go get what they need. And I set them up with plenty of, they have 2 frames of honey, nectar, pollen. So they have lots of resources in there. Okay, so what are we doing today? We're gonna do something really fun and different. But first, I just wanted to show you that this crazy pear tree that is inside the chicken run, which gets literally no attention other than from the chickens, is in bud right now, and the flowers are starting to come out. It's so beautiful. Makes me so happy. The other thing that's coming out is this one apple tree that is new. Last year was its first year. It produced fruit last year, and it breaks bud long before the others do, which is so interesting. It's a 4-in-1, so I'll show you that in a second. I did want to move soil and wood chips, but that's not happening while these bees are still mad. There's 2 that are chasing us. Those are probably really elderly bees that are not going back in the hive at night, and basically they're on their way out. They're not going back in the hive because they're not allowed back in. Generally, when bees reach a certain age, if they die in the hive, they will be taken out, like taken off the edge of the hive by the mortuary bees. But if they are really old and they can sense, the other bees can sense that based on their smell, their pheromone, they won't be allowed back in. There's guard bees at the door, and they will keep those bees from coming back in at the end of the day. And so those bees go off on their own and they die. Sad, but that's how it goes. So generally what we have found is that the one or two that follow us around after an intense hive investigation, especially in the spring, are generally like just kind of rogue bees that no longer really belong to the colony, and they're super aggressive. My mentor likes to call them dementia bees because he's like, they just act crazy, and they do. So by tomorrow, when it's much cooler, it's not supposed to rain until tomorrow evening, so I might be able to get out here and do some actual moving of soil and stuff. We'll just have to see if they've calmed down enough. Okay, so let me show you this apple tree real quick. It's breaking bud on 2 of the varieties. So this one is an Anna apple, which is actually recommended for our area because we are a zone 9B, and it's really hard to grow apples in our zone. And then this one, a Dorset Golden. These 2 back here are later to break dormancy. That's a Gordon apple and a Fuji. And then my apples down here, there is I think that's a Fuji. This is a Honeycrisp, and I think this is another Fuji. These aren't breaking dormancy. They will at some point, but not yet. Okay, let's go in the backyard where the bees aren't bothering me. And I'll talk about our project for the day. Okay, so it's time to start the project for the day. Now, I've been waiting for about a week and a half to start this project because I needed one important ingredient. But we are going to start a wine cap mushroom bed. This is something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I finally just bit the bullet and bought the spawn. So this is a very large bag, more than I would need. This is a 5.5 pound bag of wine cap mushroom spawn that I got from North Spore. We are going to set up a wine cap mushroom bed. Now, I have watched, never done this before, but I've watched a million videos on how to do it. It's actually very easy. And so we're going to do it together today. The only other things I need other than this spore are wood chips, which I have, and straw, which is what I was waiting on, garden straw. So to get started, we just need to pick our spot. Now, unlike some mushroom varieties, wine caps are okay with a little bit of sun, but mostly they want shade. So the area that I'm choosing here, and it took me a while to make a decision, is an area that has mostly shade all day. It'll get a little bit of dappled sun. The other thing that they want is moisture, but not like saturation. And they need a good substrate to grow in. So what we've got is wood chips. And now these are part of the wood chips that were delivered for the front garden. I'm going to go ahead and use some of these for this project. These are redwood chips that are completely untreated. So the wood chips you need to choose can't have dye in them or have any kind of treatment on them, because that will negatively impact the mushroom's ability to grow. So these are untreated wood chips. And I also have garden straw. You can use hay as well if you want, but that usually has a lot of seeds in it, and then you have like weeds growing in addition to your mushrooms, which can be a pain. So the other thing to know is that you can do this completely with just wood chips. That's okay. But from what I've seen, it's nice to have the straw in there because of the there's more surface area in straw. It helps the mushrooms grab hold faster and start to spread faster and grow faster and fruit faster. So then you've got the wood chips as other layers that will prolong that. So you'll have longer periods of fruiting, but the initial period, because they'll eat up this straw really quickly. And basically what we're providing them here is food. So in the form of wood chips and straw. Now, all we're going to do is make a lasagna. So we've picked our spot. This is the location I'm going to use here. I'm going to relocate that bird bath because basically I only had it there in the shade for the summertime. We're going to move it. But we're going to scrape away all of these leaves. The reason for that is you don't know for sure. Undoubtedly, this is leaf mold under here, and it's got its own sets of mycobiology and microbiology. And so I want to make sure that what we're growing is wine caps. They're very easy to identify, but we're basically just kind of eliminating some extra things that might pop up in the bed. So I'm going to scrape this back with a rake, and then we'll get started building. Okay, so we've scraped away the leaves on top. Now this is okay. I'm gonna chunk it out, but it would be all right if it stayed in there. It wouldn't be the end of the world. It's just a weed anyway. So now we're gonna put down our first layer. Now the soil here is already wet. If it wasn't, I would wanna spray it down with water, but it's wet. So our first layer is gonna be wood chips. Okay, so these wood chips, next step would be to wet them down, but these are actually damp as well. The straw, however, is not. So this layer, this top layer here is going to be straw. All right, now we're going to get it wet. Now comes the spawn. So you can see in here, this is the spawn. It is on sawdust, and all the white stuff is actually the mycelium of the mushroom itself. So we're just going to take this and crumble it all over this bed. You can use big chunks if you want, but the more you crumble, the more widespread it will be. Oh, it smells really good. If you like mushrooms, it smells amazing. All right, I'm gonna wet that down again and then just repeat the process. So there you have it. I don't know if there's anything any simpler than that. At this point, the hardest part is just getting your materials together. Wine cap mushrooms are this beautiful, deep kind of burgundy red color. They are native to Europe and North America, and they're entirely edible, stem, everything. So these are very, they're completely safe. They're 100% edible. They have a very umami flavor and a very crisp texture, similar to like a potato when they're raw. So you can eat them raw or cooked. And I've heard lots of good things about them. The spawn certainly smells amazing. So if you like mushrooms, I would totally give this one a try. Now you can also, from North Spore and from other companies, they don't know who I am, so I'm not sponsored by them. You can get oyster mushrooms and things that you grow in a bag or in a grow bag or, in your kitchen. If you've never given mushrooms a try and you like mushrooms, I would totally suggest doing this. It's really, really fun. And so in, 3 to 4 months, I'm going to have mushrooms in here. And the cool thing about this particular mushroom, it's also known as the king of the garden. And the reason is it likes to spread, not like a thug spread, but it is kind of, this will be a perennial bed for me. As long as I keep giving it straw and wood chips, every couple of months, it will continue to grow mushrooms in perpetuity because the mycelium will spread all through there. Now, the other great thing about this is if I let them exhaust this food source and eat everything, and then the mushrooms stop growing, all that mycelium will still be in there. and it will have it'll be amazing compost that can go out into the garden. So two wonderful things you can do with them in addition to eating them. So I'm excited about this process. I think it's going to be super fun. Not only do I like to eat them, but mushrooms are just really interesting creatures. They're not a plant. They're not an animal, but they are definitely something in between. The other cool thing about this particular mushroom is, and oysters, if you plant them in your garden beds, now it's kind of tough because like oyster mushrooms especially don't want like a lot of bright light, and neither do these guys. But like let's say you have a high tunnel or some kind of more shady area where you're growing things, they will eat nematodes, dangerous nematodes in the soil. Literally eat them. They'll act like carnivores and eat them. It's crazy. So another good use for them. And one of the reasons the king of the garden here likes to spread, some people grow them in their pathways. So like, let's say in a high tunnel, like in a farm growing space, some people plant entire pathways full of these because they feed the soil, they make amazing compost, and then that soil can be scooped out of the pathways and placed on top of the beds to feed the beds. It's a really wonderful system. Plus, they're edible. So, all right, that's gonna be it for me today, you guys. I got stung yesterday twice, not too bad on my wrist, and you can barely see it. It's just a little swollen. It itched like the dickens last night though, so I'm going to take the rest of the day off and just chill. And it's Friday after all. So tomorrow, I'm hoping that the bees will be calmed down enough that we can start moving all that soil in the front garden, reshaping those beds. It would be wonderful to get those done before the rains come. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. I hope you have a wonderful time in your garden. If you have tried growing mushrooms or you like growing mushrooms or whatever your experience with them is, please let me know. I would love to hear about it. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.